welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 329, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles from 1987. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe, too. And this episode is brought to you by the Kelman Transport X. Dissolved gas analysis and moisture measurements of insulating fluids are recognized as the most important test for condition assessment of fluid insulated transformers. And when you need a DGA, call Kelman.
Well, shout out to Kelman. Welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. Happy Thanksgiving. There's not a lot I don't think there's a ton of Thanksgiving movies, but this is for sure.
I was thinking about that because, we get... So, as we were driving home today, Rachel looked and she saw in someone's house, like a couple streets away from us, they had put up their Christmas tree.
Yep.
And I think I have a solid plan.
Okay.
Speaking of, there's no Thanksgiving movies. If your Christmas tree is up, you do not get Thanksgiving. You're just banned. There's no turkey. There's no family.
Starting off this episode as the Grinch.
No. I'm just saying, if you want to skip Thanksgiving, you must fully skip it, and you just get to eat like Slim Jims on that Thursday. That's all you get.
Snap into it.
Yes. Either way, yes. I think there should be more Thanksgiving movies, and I think that there's currently one coming out. I saw
there is
like
the Eli
Patrick
Roth Thanksgiving.
Dempsey. Is it Patrick Dempsey? That thing?
Yes, he is the sexiest man alive. He is promoting that, and also kind of Ferrari.
Oh, is he in Ferrari too?
In some small role. I don't know. He's not. Okay. I don't even remember seeing him in the trailer. But yeah, he's in both of those. But yeah, there's not a ton of Thanksgiving movies. I think there's like
this isn't really unofficial... a Thanksgiving.
Well, he's getting home for Thanksgiving.
Yes, it is. Like I don't say it's not, but it's not like what was that like Krishna, right? Wasn't that like a Thanksgiving movie? Weirdly,
Krisha. Yeah, that's. I mean, it's a
really
awkward,
fucked up
yes.
version of a thing. Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of movies like Pieces of April, Freebirds. I'm looking on like just different lists online now. Krisha, but like, yeah, in terms of like movies that are like set Thanksgiving week. So I had this idea for this lap for like a couple years now, but like the last couple of laps hadn't overlapped with Thanksgiving, which, most laps now do because laps are 9 months long or whatever. But like, as it's gone on, we hadn't had it. And I wanted to have this come out Thanksgiving week because, it is thematically appropriate.
Yeah.
But like, I was just like, oh, we can't do it this lap, can't do it this lap, can't do it this. And then here we go. Finally, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, not Planes, Trains, no Automobiles. This one is currently streaming on Showtime and Paramount.
Paramount Plus, that's how I watched it.
Pluto, I believe. Oh, so many places.
Yeah, you can get it for free with ads on like Plex, Pluto, Tubi, something. A whole bunch.
So if you don't know what it's about, a Chicago advertising man must struggle to travel home from New York for Thanksgiving with a lovable oaf of a shower curtain ring salesman as his only companion. Written, directed, and produced by John Hughes, who of course did like Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller, 16 Candles.
It's
shot by
Ferris
this guy,
yeah.
Donald Peterman, who has shot a bunch of movies, but including and important to us, both Point Break and Gung Ho. So that's
very cool. Point
noteworthy
Break
to this podcast.
Yeah.
Budget of $15 million, made almost $50 million, 92 on Rotten Tomatoes, 72 on Metacritic. Thanks to the impeccable chemistry between Steve Martin and John Candy, both of whom have said that this is their favorite movie they ever made.
Oh, really?
As well as a deft mix of humor and heart, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is a hilarious, heartfelt holiday classic. But Joe, before we talk about that, I got 3 crazy credits for you.
Hit me with that crazy beam.
The first crazy credit is what I told you about as you were finishing the movie. I was like, wait, there is a post-credit scene. So crazy credit number 1, after all the end credits, there's a shot of advertising executive William Wyndon in the office, as in the scene in the beginning of the movie, still examining the pictures Neil Page is waiting for him to finish perusing at the staff meeting. 34 up, 1 down. They don't even mention he's got a full Thanksgiving dinner on the table, which is, I think, maybe the funniest part of the whole scene.
I think that's the funniest part of the whole scene. I really, like, not to divert from the crazy credits, but that opening the movie in complete silence for, like, 30 seconds was really funny to me and very, very jarring. Like, I kept thinking that my TV wasn't on. Like, my audio was fucked up. So that was when it finally started to make any noise, I was like, oh, thank God. And then I was like, this is really weird. I've never seen a movie start out dead silent
right
like that.
for an extended period of time.
For a very extended period of time, yes.
Crazy credit number 2, there are no opening credits after the title, which scrolls across the screen like a plane, train, and automobile. 18 up, 1 down.
That's not even a credit. That's a crazy title card.
Hmm?
They got lost. They need a new category.
I mean, look, that's the whole point of this. These are terrible. Actually, here's a question to you, and I thought about it. I can come down either way. This is the lap of crazy credits because I found this out. Should we continue crazy credits after this lap?
I kind of like it, to be honest. It's really dumb. It's so dumb.
Of all the prep that I do for the podcast, this is like the easiest thing to do. I just copy and paste and I write the numbers and like that's it. So like I just read them verbatim. Like there's no like research I'm going to read. If there's 0 or 50, I'm going to read every single crazy credit.
That's fine by me. Yeah.
And then the third crazy credit is more like 2B, as in like an extension of the previous one.
Yes.
As the title, planes, trains, and automobiles scrolls across the screen, the sound of each mode of transport is heard. 14 up, 2 down. That feels to me like someone was just like, this other guy just did that, but he didn't put my favorite part, which is the sounds.
Yeah, that's like a crazy audio title card. That should probably be another category. I don't know.
I mean, what would you call it, though?
What do you mean?
Like, if it's not crazy credits, like crazy title card, like just title descriptions, like
I don't know. I'm just making fun of it. I just want this to devolve into like subcategories of crazy credit.
It's so weird, man. I don't know.
I agree.
I mean, that is the thing. Like, these aren't really crazy credits, but I don't know. Anyway, some trivia about the movie: the exterior of the titular plane when it's in midair is footage reused from Airplane. So if that looked familiar, It did not to me. But that is movie footage reshot or reused from that one.
Makes sense.
John Hughes was inspired to make this movie after an actual flight he was on from New York to Chicago, which diverted to Wichita, and it took him 5 days to get home.
That sounds miserable, dude. Like, is that even possible in today's world? Like, you'd have to fly to Montana and be, like, in a blizzard as you land.
I think that there's a lot of travel that is different between now and then.
Agreed.
I think if you're trying to just, like, quote-unquote play by the rules. Like, remember at Christmas when I was stuck in Austin and the flight was canceled, like, we can rebook you on the weekend, and it was Monday. I'm just like, I'm not going to do that. But, like, I could have driven home if there was a rental car for me. If I'm just playing by, like, the airline I booked on, they're like, well, you can get home in 5 days, right? So, like, I don't know. We'll talk about that. There's a lot of travel, because I think we both travel a lot. I would say more than most average people, maybe, just for fun and for business, whatever.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, like, familiar themes and events in this movie, I would say.
Yes.
So speaking of, I guess the original intent of this was I guess one of two things. Either there was just so much story to tell, or they wanted to make it feel like this never-ending story. But the original version of this movie, so this movie is 93 minutes long. Very tight, very easy, very breezy.
Quick, breezy.
The original version is 3 hours and 40 minutes long. So more than 2 full hours longer than this movie, which as a comedy, don't know.
I was going to say, how would you like a Lord of the Rings extended edition length version of this movie?
Do not know. I think
I would probably blow my brains out. I mean, like, and I really, really enjoyed this movie. Mm-hmm. But for a 4-hour comedy, nope, don't think so.
So they cut that down to 2 hours. They showed that to test audiences. They used that to cut the trailers, and then they cut it down again to 93 minutes.
Smart moves all around.
I can't imagine a 3-hour and 40-minute version. So apparently the 2-hour version exists in a vault somewhere. The long 3-hour and 40-minute version kind of exists, but it's just a bunch of like raw footage that like John Hughes has said it would take either months or even years to put together. It doesn't sound like it's ever going to happen, but like part of me is like, for a movie that I love, like we always love short movies. For a movie that I love, I would like to see a longer movie, but like I don't know that any comedy should be like even like a 2-hour Judd Apatow comedy. Just like get to the point, man. Like what are we doing?
That's what I'm
here?
saying. I think I think there's something inherent about comedies that like you kind of get burnt out. It's some like I'm sure that Steve Martin and John Candy really thought that like 3.5 hours of this would be a lot of fun, because I'm sure that they were having fun on set if they enjoyed making the movie, blah blah blah. I don't think that it would convey for 4 hours.
There was a trivia. I got rid
of
it though. Hold on. Let me find out what it was. Upon receiving the script through his agent, Steve Martin was surprised to discover the script's 145-page length, which, translating to minute per page is about 2.5 hours, with a comedy typically aiming for 90 pages. When he met with John Hughes, he asked if they had any intention of cutting the script. According to Martin, Hughes looked at him strangely and said, "Cutting?" Making Martin realize he had no intention of cutting the script. So I feel like this kind of thing where it's just like, this is really funny, but like,
it
what's
seems like it's
going
to run long. Yeah. Like, what are we going to do here? Like, is there any parts, like, are you still kind of workshopping this? Like, were you pitching it to me to see what, like, I thought would work, whatever? And he's like, nope, that's the movie, bud.
So there are two scenes that Steve Martin like fell in love with and why he did this. It's the seat adjusting scene, which we'll talk about, and the F-bomb tirade at the rental car, which is, but like, those are the two things that, like, I guess he was just like, no, I want to do this movie because of these two scenes, which we'll get to. But like, I mean, there's a lot of funny to be had, but at some point you just gotta like pick the funniest moments, right? Like the funniest modes of transportation, that the biggest things that could go wrong, and like,
I think
just
that's
rid of the rest.
That's the key to any good comedy, right? Like, this is why we loved like all the jokes hit. It's joke, 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 joke. That's how it should go. Just beat to beat to beat. And like, I can't imagine writing or having enough content for any movie to have 3.5 hours.
Of comedy? No,
that's what I'm saying. Like there's gonna be like a lot of bad jokes, and we've watched like a lot of good movies that are funny and then have like lulls in them, and you're like, man, that really dragged the movie down. If they would have just cut this 15 minutes out, we could have just like skipped from like there to there and been good.
Also, like, I think, and maybe, a funny movie is a funny movie, but like a 1987 funny movie, like in terms of pacing, is different than like a modern, you know what I mean? We're just like, people with like ADD or, like at least movie ADD would like struggle even more to, oh boy, so glad. What would you think of this movie with Tom Hanks in the Steve Martin role and John Travolta in the John Candy role?
As someone who has not done Hanks for the Memories, I think Tom Hanks would be great in the Steve Martin role. I like Steve Martin in the role, but I don't think Tom Hanks would be a bad replacement for Steve Martin. I can't see it myself, but like in parts that I'm imagining, I think it would work pretty decent.
And John Travolta for Candy?
Absolutely not. Zero. I like 0, 0, 0. I mean, like, granted, like, I've seen him do Michael and stuff like that, but I don't think Travolta's the right guy for this. Even at that time, like, at any time, but...
Well, yeah, so those were John Hughes' first picks, but Tom Hanks was busy shooting the movie Big, which is a great movie.
Excellent movie.
And Travolta was like, Paramount was like, absolutely fucking not, because this is, again, before Pulp Fiction, before Tarantino proves that he can, like, he's not, because he was box office poison until Pulp Fiction, but like after
Travolta was?
Yeah. Like,
why?
after,
what
like,
happened? After Saturday Night Fever...
Hold on, what were the movies? It was like Perfect, I think, with Jamie Lee Curtis. Like, there were a handful.
I'm sure Michael's actually on that list, right?
Like,
that's
be.
Like,
there's between after Saturday Night Fever and before Pulp Fiction, there were a lot of movies that people were just like, no, like, you can't cast this guy. Like, Blowout is great, but Staying Alive, maybe it's not Perfect. Perfect might be with Stallone, but like Staying Alive, I think. Oh no, there's Perfect. Staying Alive, I think, was a flop. Perfect was a flop. He was in Look Who's Talking, but I think people didn't. I mean, but there's a stretch of here where just like you can't. The Experts, Eyes of an Angel, Chains of Gold. Like, I don't know what these movies are, but like these are movies that are not like
lost to the. They're lost to the sands of time because everybody was like,
and then Pulp Fiction revives him. Yeah,
yes,
and then from there he does like Broken Arrow, which we're gonna do later this lap as a Patreon pick. Then he does Michael. He does Face Off. He does whatever, right? But like at this time, Hollywood was like, you cannot cast this guy. You cannot. And so they're like, you can't do it. So they cast John Candy instead.
Who do you think is most likely from the Fast and the Furious universe to hit that?
Box office poison?
Yeah. It's tough, right? I was just thinking about, like, I have an obvious answer, and then I have a more obvious. Yeah. Tyrese is top tier because I think he's most likely to get himself into some shit. But, like, in reality, I think there's a strong argument that could be made that Vin...
I think it depends on like what you're doing. Like if it's like diva-ish, asshole-ish behavior, it could be any number of people, right? I also think, like, I don't think he's ever going away, but I think there could be a time where audiences are like, enough with the fucking Rock. No more Rock. You know what I mean?
I think so too. That's what I'm saying. Like, I had Vin, The Rock, like Tyrese, obvious choice, but yeah. I think that like all three of them could be a candidate for like people just being like, I'm just fucking sick of him. He's in every fucking movie. This guy's like Tiffany Haddish that one year. Like,
because I think like the thing with Tyrese is that he's not a big enough star. It's not like people are like, we're gonna make a new $100 million movie starring Tyrese. It's like, no, Tyrese is like starring in like $10 million movies, or he's like fourth banana in like $30 million. You know what I mean? Like, he's still a star. Like, he's still a name, but he's not like
carrying
Travolta was in the
anything.
80s or like The Rock is now or whatever. But yeah, for sure. So this is actually kind of sweet and also kind of sad. So John Candy passes away in 1994, which is like 7 years after this. So Roger Ebert, when he reviewed this movie, loved this movie, gave it 3.5 stars. In 2000, 6 years after John Candy passed away, he wrote another review of this movie. He added it to his quote-unquote great movies series, which is a thing that Ebert used to do. And he bumped his rating up to 4 stars. And he just gushed about John Candy, how much he loved him in this movie. And Steve Martin read the review, put it on Twitter, which is the first time I've ever seen Twitter referenced in IMDb trivia, and said he will always regret that he could never send John Candy this glowing review because he had passed away. But just like, that's so sweet. Like, they must have bonded. Cute. But like, Ebert loved this movie, man.
It's a wholesome movie, and they have good chemistry, and you can see the chemistry between them, and it looks again like a movie that they were having fun making. So I can see it. I'm sure that they did bond, and I think John Candy's just great in general. I agree.
And the only other trivia that I have, two other things. There's a crazy thing that I did not look further into because I think it's insane. I don't want to know anything more about it. But okay. the less insane thing is that no transportation company wanted to be like, yeah, you can use our thing that's going to like show us like fucking over our customers, right?
Like Delta, Avis, whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So to make up for that, they had to rent 20 miles of train track, refurbish old railroad cars, construct a set that looked like an airline terminal, design a rent-a-car company logo and uniforms, and rent 250 cars. So just like Avis is not going to be like, yes, please, like, let us show that we're like, we don't care about our customers, that like our cars like catch on fire easily, right? Like,
yeah.
So all these companies were like, you can't do that. So they're like, all right, fine, we're going to make everything fake. But the other thing in terms of spending a lot of money, and I don't know why this is, but it's really funny to me. So Steve Martin's house, I don't think the exterior, I would just guess the interior, but maybe the exterior, I don't know, was built from scratch for some reason. It had 7 rooms. It took 5 months to build, and it cost $100,000, which in today's money is $270,000. And that's
a new construction. That's a new construction in Chicago.
That house is in 3 minutes of the movie.
Yeah,
maybe? Like, it's just him talking to his wife on the phone, and we see her at the kitchen table, and then her in the bedroom, and then he shows up in the hallway at the end, and that's it. And Paramount apparently lost their goddamn minds. They're like, why are you doing this? And like,
you could have rented a house for a weekend for like $1,000 at the most.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing anything. There's not like, they're like, oh yeah, what about the blood splatter scene that we have to like do and clean up? None of that. Nope. It's just a normal house.
It's like you need a normal kitchen, a normal bedroom, a normal walk. Also, like, this comes out before, but like, it just looks like the Home Alone house, but smaller. Like, it just looks like a Chicago house.
It looks totally like any cookie cutter. So they did a good job building this one from scratch. I want to know who lives there or got that house or if they ever sold it. But what if it's like a half functioning house too? Like they built like a really sick ass house set, but it's like, oh yeah, but like we never hooked up any of the plumbing because like it was just a movie set. Yeah, why would you need, like, there wasn't any electricity in the house.
It's crazy. I have no idea.
Nuts. It's very, very nuts.
I was like, I want to know everything about this, and I want to know nothing
more about it.
That's
a money laundering scheme. That's 100%. When we talked about, come on, man. That's a money laundering scheme for sure. Somebody's cousin was like a construction guy, and they're like, dude, I can float you like $100,000 on this fucking movie if you build a house. And he's like, but it doesn't need to work. And you're like, fuck yeah, easy.
Yeah. That's like The Sopranos, just like, yeah, you know, he got a job down at the construction site, right? It's like,
exactly.
Oh yeah, they're building building a house for the John Hughes movie. It's like, why don't they just rent a house? No, we're going to build the house.
Yeah, it's very specific house that they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Looks just like the Home Alone house.
Mm-hmm. So you said you had never seen this before, and you really liked it.
I really, really enjoyed it.
Did you hear of it? Had you heard of it? Or
yeah,
no?
of course. It was just like, and it's weird that I haven't seen it because this feels like a movie that like my dad and parents would have been into because it's like cute and wholesome and like John Candy and I watched a ton of Home Alone. This is a very similar movie to Home Alone. Like, I'd seen Ferris Bueller, so like it doesn't make any sense why I missed this one. And my dad loves Steve Martin too, so like I don't know what they were doing to not show me this one, but I found it very cute and I liked it a lot.
John Hughes only really made like 6 movies. I mean, he wrote more, but in terms of like directing things, he didn't really direct that many movies. And so, like, as a completionist or what, not, but like, oh, I want to see more of his movies. It's like The Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller, 16 Candles, this, Weird Science, Uncle Buck.
I love Weird Science.
I love Weird Science too, even though it's problematic, but I love it.
I love that movie though. I really like Weird Science. Like, that was a movie that I made Rachel watch because of how much I enjoy it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But he also, I mean, he wrote Home Alone and Home Alone 2 and Christmas Vacation and Pretty in Pink and Regular Vacation. Like, it's all, all these different movies, right? But, like, he didn't direct that many movies. And so, but it's a good one.
It's a really good one. I like his brodom of keeping all the same actors in all of these movies.
Yeah. Also, like, you said it's very Home Alone. Like, this is kind of like Kevin's mom coming home at the end, right? Like Kate McAllister coming home.
Fucking, he's in that movie
with John Candy, yeah, as Gus, right? It's just, but like that's less dramatic. Not that dramatic. It's not a drama, but like less. You know what I mean? Like there's fewer issues. Like once she gets with Gus, everything's fine. Here, it's just like problem after problem after problem.
I mean, this is just alternate universe Gus or the same Gus earlier, right? It's just like if he didn't find Steve Martin, he would never have started that polka band.
Truly. So it's also funny to watch. I mean, again, this is not a new feeling for this, but it's funny to watch a flight movie or a movie about flights before 9/11, because like he shows up to the airport at like 5:58 for a 6. I know that like, he's running late, but he gets there like 5:58 for the 6 o'clock flight, and like there's still a part of you like, oh, he might make this flight. It's like that's insane.
Yes. Yeah, in the world of 9/11 and COVID, we know that airports do not exist like this anymore. No. When he said he walked across a runway, I was like, God bless. I can't believe you didn't get shot.
Right.
But
I will say, though, that like the feeling that he had, like, I've only had this a couple times because I'm usually like overly paranoid, in case you couldn't tell, and get like to the airport like way early. But like the thought of like missing a flight, like there's like no worse feeling. Like a couple years ago, we were flying to LA for work, and I left at the right time, but there was so much traffic, and I was like in an Uber going through like. This Uber guy, like he took me through boroughs that like we shouldn't have gotten to get to JFK, but I was just like, thank God this guy knows where he's going, because like I was like, I'm not gonna make this flight, like I'm gonna have to take another flight, like it's gonna screw over my boss, like I don't know how I'm gonna get out there, and like we finally got there, but there's I feel like just like you're helpless, right? Just like the world is conspiring against me.
Dude, I have that happen to you every time I try to drive to your house. It's like, okay, I'm leaving at the right time, should be fine, traffic looks good, and then there's just like an extra hour and a half of traffic. For no
that
reason.
One time that I was having the birthday thing at Topgolf, and you're like, I've been in the car for 80 minutes, and I went 2 miles because it was like icy and just like.
Oh yeah. It was. I didn't even make it past downtown New Haven and I'm like a couple exits away. Yes, but either way, we're cursed. I can understand the traffic thing.
Also, a really close second terrible feeling is like the never-ending flight delay in the airport, like just sitting there not knowing when.
I fucking hate this, dude. I hate it. Just send me home. Just tell me it's canceled. Get me the fuck home. Or like at least give me like, look, you know what? I know it's 6 now. We're probably not leaving till 9. Give me a long shot. Do the thing that you do when you go to a restaurant where they're like, your table will be ready in an hour and a half. And then in like 35 minutes, they're like, we have a table ready for you. Perfect. If you juice me up, but I get that you can't do that because people would be like, well, I'm just going to like go to the bar and sit there. And then they're like, why did my plane move up? So they have to give you like 15-minute increments that are 16 minutes behind every time. I fucking hate it.
And like, I know that these are very like, really first world problems in terms of like, I want the magical steel bird that gets me from city to city in 2 hours. Like, I can't believe that's running a little bit late. But like, when you're just at the mercy of like the machine, it's just like, this sucks, dude. Like, come on.
Yeah, it's like one of the worst. Pro tip, I say this all the time. I know it's not the most fun. Take the first flight out. Take the first flight out.
Yep.
Like, that one's always going to take off on time. no matter what, because like even if they were fucked yesterday, unless there's like a blizzard that morning, and even if there is a blizzard that morning, you're gonna be the first one out after the blizzard, or as soon as they get it out. First flight out. It sucks. Wake up early. Do that.
We've learned that from booking flights for work too. It's just
first
get
flight
out early. It's miserable once you're on the plane. You're happy. You're gonna be happier there or home earlier. But boy, but also like it's funny to watch in the movie but it just the feeling of like losing the race of the taxi, like Kevin Bacon in this one scene stealing the taxi, and then
Kevin Bacon just shows up out of fucking nowhere for like one scene as an extra. Okay.
Kevin Bacon in one scene, Michael McKean in one scene, but thankfully taxi still exists, but I actually don't know if I've ever hailed a taxi, because I think by the time I was old enough and like getting around in the city, it was just like Uber or whatever, right? But like
I have. And I was like young to be hailing a taxi, but I've done it in like not in New York. In Pittsburgh, we called for them. There was a number.
Right.
But like, yes, I've hailed a taxi. I'm so glad we don't have to do that anymore.
It just seems like an added layer of like, even like driving around New York or like being around New York, you see people still trying to hail a taxi. It's like, dude, there's just an app in your phone. Just
in Italy, when we were there last time, the taxis use their own app.
Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense.
There's like a taxi app, so it's the same thing.
I think in Portugal, I think, because Spain has Uber, but when I was in Portugal for one day before I went to Spain last summer for the music festival, there was like I had to use like the taxi app. Yeah,
and it's works sick. Yeah. Why don't we fucking do that? It's just, it's just weird Uber, but like
I think there's like I think Curb is an app. Like I think there are taxi apps in New York. I think
you can use Uber to get a taxi in New York at some point, or you were allowed to, but they always have like goofy rules and changes and stuff like that.
I was also thinking while watching this movie, and this episode's not out for patrons yet. Patrons are going to get a bonus episode of Shame, so enjoy that in a couple of days. But the bonus episode after that, which we recorded and I edited, but is not out yet, is Runaway Train. And we talk about on that episode how like every time you break out of prison, it feels like you're with the absolute worst person to be with. And like here, just like, that feeling of trying to go home for Thanksgiving and like you're with the worst person in the world. Like it's not like John Candy, like in almost any other situation, like you'd want to be with John Candy, but like in the situation where you're just like, all I want to do is be home with my wife and my kids on Thanksgiving. That's all I want in the world. And this guy, I'm stuck with this guy. Like
the guy that won't shut up on the plane. Yep. Like I agree. I love John Candy. I hate talking to like people on a plane. I don't want to meet strangers. I don't like people to take their socks off on a plane. Yes, I agree that I would be like, this fucking guy, I gotta get out of here. Like, I gotta get out of here. I can't do this.
I mean, we talked about this on the airplane episode where the guy keeps telling the story and like everyone just kills themselves on the airplane. Like,
yes.
It's that. It's,
He's resourceful, though, so I think that I would come around. Like, this is, like, he's bumbly and resourceful enough that I'd be like, okay, because he does some redeeming things. He's annoying himself, he's annoying to Steve Martin, but at the same time, like, he's not a bad guy, right? Like,
no, and, like, that's the thing, like, Steve, like, I know that, like, he has to be overly mean to him so he can come around in the end, but, like, Steve Martin is so mean to him early on in this movie. Like, it's like, dude, just give him, like, it's Thanksgiving for him, too, right? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But I do think that, like, that contributes, like, to a thing, like, I've probably thought about but never really articulated. It doesn't really make sense how I wrote it down, but, like, John Hughes is so good at a specific level of, like, heightened drama in a grounded way. Like, the way that, like, the guy and his daughter pick them up outside the diner or whatever, where, like, they hop in the back of the pickup truck with the hay and the dog back there. Like, it feels like it's going to be this, like it's a villain shot where it's like the slow pan up him and it's just like a dude. Like there's something about like the heightened drama of everyday life that John Hughes does really well. And I think there's probably like a better way to describe that. But I think it's the same thing with just like emotion, like it's normal stuff that everybody can relate to, but everything is just turned up to 11 in terms of like the annoyances, the frustrations, the comedy, all of it.
Yes. Yeah. He's very good at that.
Did you have a favorite method of in our planes, trains, but no automobiles left? Did you have a favorite method of transportation that they had to resort to get home? Because we have a bunch of different stuff.
We do have a bunch of different stuff.
There's nothing really weird. It's all the stuff you would normally expect.
Yeah, and there's some kind of like fake outs. Like there was a point where like they pick them up and they're like, "You're gonna go on the train," and they're like, "Can we go here?" And he's like, "No, like the people train's over here." And I thought they was gonna be like, "I'm on a train with a bunch of horses." You know what I mean? Because like that would have been fun. No, I don't think I like one any more particular than another one. But yes, they do have a lot of different options, but none of them are like, oh my god, this one was hilarious,
right,
and like the other ones aren't, or like this one, this one's so much funnier than the other ones, whatever.
No, it's just like they all like encounter like the most common type of like interruption, right? Like the airplane has to get diverted because of a storm, the train just breaks down. I mean, the car sets on fire is it, but I think the car is probably the funniest one.
The car is the funniest. I think so too. But they're in it the longest too, so that's why like I was kind of factoring that in too. Is it like is it the funniest, or is it just because there's like a lot of pieces to it?
Well, there's also something funny about the car where like that like things, because there's still maybe by that point like half an hour of the movie left. Like like they're not going to get home smoothly now. Like there's still more to happen, but like they're in the car for so long, you're waiting for something to happen and things don't happen. Like they almost keep happening. Like when John Candy is dancing to the Ray Charles the mess around,
gets his jacket stuck in the adjuster, and yeah.
And you're like, oh, he's gonna crash the car, but he doesn't.
And it's like the cigarette goes back, like everything's leading up. You're like, which one of these is gonna be the bomb?
Other side of the highway, he does like some Letty-esque precision driving between big rigs.
I totally had that. Yeah. That's the most Fast and the Furious moment of this movie, is he drives right between two semis.
Oh, this car's gonna, and no, it doesn't. And then all of a sudden, the cigarette in the back seat is what does it, right? But like,
yes,
I think it's very funny because everything else is just like, oh, there's no way that the plane can break down. Oh, there's no way that the train can break down. Oh, there's no way that the bus can screw them up. You know what I mean? But it's just like,
nope, all of them do.
They all fail.
All of them do. Yeah, definitely, every time.
So there is the scene in the rental car agency, which I'm sure. Have you ever, as a nepo baby of rental car agents, have you ever encountered an angry customer like this?
A million times over, bro.
Yeah.
Like there was a period there, like during COVID, that every single customer we talked to was that customer. Like,
oh, you also told a story on here about like the guy punching your dad.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, this is like not like any time that, at least once a day, if I'm visiting my parents and at the shop, one customer comes in like this.
Sweet. Love it.
Like whether it's like the worst place ever, especially now post COVID. It's like amazingly bad. Like like one person comes in and they're either mad at like the rental car place, they're mad at you, they're mad at the car, another place. They'll come in and yell at you about like you're like, bro, I don't know, like I don't work in Ohio. Like, yell at them, dude.
Yep.
I don't know. They're like, they gave me this fucking car and like they told me to come here. You're like, okay, yeah, sorry, that wasn't. I don't know Steve in Ohio. Like, that's not my buddy.
I remember, it's not a rental car thing, but I remember one of the first jobs I had was in an ice cream store. This guy came in who was actually a teacher at our school. He didn't recognize me. Like, he was like the gym, like he coordinated gym classes. I don't know. Like, he didn't teach. Like, it was like he was. Everybody knew him. He didn't know us.
But okay, yeah.
And, he orders his ice cream. Everything goes fine. We, get to the end. He hands us like this, like, gift certificate for a different ice cream place. We're like, oh, sir, that's not us. And he got so mad. I'm like, bro, this isn't our fault. Like, you're the one who fucked up.
You're the dumbass here. Yeah.
Like, I get that you're angry at yourself, but, like, it's not us. And he like,
but you have to express. There's like, if he comes in and he's like, "Fuck," and then he's like, "Look, guys, sorry, I'm not mad at you. I know I fucked this up. I'm sorry." But like, and then he's like pissy and like grumbly. You're like, "Okay, cool."
And he just like angrily
just mad at you.
Stormed out. Yeah, it's just like, dude, like,
did he take his ice cream and pay or no?
I think so. I think so. I mean, that's the lesson board, because I'm just like, Mr. Bush, what are you doing?
Yeah, you look like a clown today, bud.
I know.
Jeez.
So John Hughes told Edie McClurg, who is the rental car agent there, just to like improv a conversation she's having on the phone. So like, just like pissing Steve Martin off. So this one scene is the reason this movie is rated R instead of like PG or PG-13. Like, I'm sure
it comes out of nowhere. I was thinking that too, because like you're watching it, it's a very wholesome, cute movie, and then there's just there's a lot of fucking, but fucking in quotation marks, because he just is. Steve Martin does a lot of fucking.
It's 19 fucks in 1 minute. There's one country, maybe it's like New Zealand or something, where like they still have it rated PG, but like it's so wild to me that like I think today they would never let this happen. Where they're like,
no, the studio would be like, this is The worst, like, we're gonna alienate 95% of the audience that we would normally have see this movie. Like, you're gonna get families pissed off. You can't bring kids to the theater now. Blah 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 blah. Like, just cut this fucking scene out, and like we'll be okay. And they left it in. I kind of enjoyed it for that too.
And they probably made so much less money because it's rated R. Then kids can't go, families don't go, whatever. There is a Nicolas Cage scene in Honeymoon in Vegas that is kind of on par with this, if not better. But like there's very few like just fully lash out at poor, like he's not being a Karen here, but he's being some version of an angry Karen or whatever.
He is, yeah.
It's it's cathartic to see because I think most people don't reach that level, but every once in a while you want to, but your life will be much easier if you don't do this.
Well, there's a disproportionately high amount of people that choose to exert that anger at the rental car place. So from my experience, I have not seen more freakouts anywhere else that I have existed in, like doctors, like any other, like the DMV doesn't get as much chaos as a rental car place in the experiences that I've been at the DMV.
I mean, I think you also probably have. I think if you worked at the DMV for a month, you'd be like, "Oh man, the DMV gets so much fucking shit." You know what I mean?
I'm sure. I haven't, but I'm saying like I've spent enough time there with my own because once you go there, it's a black hole. You're never getting out. So like I've spent enough time there that and going in knowing that it's going to be frustrating and it always being still frustrating. I'm surprised that there isn't like more brawls in like. Why is there not World Star videos of DMVs every day?
I mean, they're probably, I don't know, maybe not every day. I haven't.
Okay, Waffle House. Waffle House must be the only other place that can hold a candle to rental car. People love to get angry in Waffle House for some reason.
Every time I've rented a car, I'm just like, why does this take so long? Like, how many?
Also, bonus traveling tip. I know that I'm a little biased because my parents had an Avis budget. Budget has Fast Break. It is free. It's at most airports. You literally walk up to the wall, take your keys and contract off the thing when your plane lands, and you drive away. You don't even need to check out. You just put a card on file. It doesn't cost anything. This isn't like a service. Use Fast Break, please. You'll love yourself for it. It's such an easy thing to sign up for, and you're just done. You just walk out. It's fucking great.
See, we're doing a public service here for the patrons and for the,
I'm trying.
For the main feed. This is honestly patron level advice on the main feed.
This is 100% patron level advice, and because it's Thanksgiving, you might be traveling. If you're sitting there and you have a rental car to pick up to go home, for God only knows what reason,
Fast Break.
Sign up for Fast Break immediately. Do it now. Sorry, I didn't tell you earlier.
One thing that I forgot was in this movie that I had seen before.
What?
When they're driving, when they drive between the semis, I think when they both turn into skeletons, then John Candy turns into the devil. I forgot that was from this movie, but have you seen that scene before? Like, that look familiar or no?
Maybe the John Candy is the devil, but I was just focused on it in the movie and it happening. So I don't like recognize it as a popular meme or something.
I think I've seen. I mean, I've seen him as the devil as an image. I feel like that's always in like supercuts of like funny movies. They're just like things that you see of like montages of whatever. But what I think is even funnier than that is when the car stops and like the first like Steve Martin's fingers up to the first knuckle are like embedded, like not even just fingernails, like fully embedded into the dashboard. And the steering wheel is completely bent down, just like the tensest thing in the world. Wonderful.
It's very funny. I was thinking about this too, that this is like kind of a level of slapstick that we don't get anymore. You know what I mean? I think we were talking about this when we were doing Airplane as well, which tracks. Right? Like, does that feel like it? Like, we don't get like silly physical comedy as much anymore. Do,
but I think it's like shitty. I think it's like the
that's...
Farrelly brothers, like the newer stuff, and like I don't know, like it's not movies that I want to see, right? Like this, I think there's like movies that are silly like have become dumb. Like there's something to be said about like the smart silly movie.
I don't think this is necessarily a smart silly movie.
No, but it's like
it's just silly and wholesome.
Yeah, it's not like gross out, or it's not like I'm just thinking like parodies, like, Scary Movie or like Date Movie or all those, or like that's kind of this kind of thing, but like I don't want to see that. You know what I mean? So
yeah, Yeah, I guess that's closest. Yeah, that makes sense.
I forgot, because I've only seen this movie once before this week, so this is the second time I've seen this. But I forgot how good John Candy's monologue to his dead wife in the burn car at the motel is. Like, when he's just out there just talking about, like, you were right, you know? Like, I'm tough to be around. I finally find a guy that I enjoy spending time with.
So
and I ruined
sad.
It. And just, like,
that
man,
tugged
so
on my
good.
heartstrings, man. It's very good because it felt so real, and it was so sad. And normally I don't like any sad things, especially in comedies, but that was like a very nice level of wholesome, just wholesome.
And like, I don't think he hears him, but like in that moment he sees John Candy sitting outside in the snow because the whole top of the car has been burned off. Like, it becomes a convertible because of the cigarette fire, and like,
Yes,
you know, he calls him in, and then just that's the moment where they're just friends. And then John Candy's line, just like, you know, he's like, "You love your wife," and he goes, "Love's not a big enough word." Like,
yeah,
it's so sweet.
it's very, very sweet. What if you could, not saying that you will or should, if you were in a motel room that had a quarter machine to vibrate the bed, would you put a quarter in it?
Oh yeah, 100%.
1,000%, right? Like,
I've
this is like the first thing I would. I've never been around one.
Me
I don't think
neither.
they exist. I wouldn't. I actually wouldn't want to be in that bed.
No,
I would
it's
be
probably real gross.
It's probably real gross. So, like, if I walked into a hotel room that had this, or a motel room that had this, I'd be like, I probably shouldn't stay here. Is there another place that's closer and better than this? But if I somehow wound up in one of those places, I'd be like, I gotta put a quarter in this fucker, right?
I think what you have to do is you walk in. So you, like, you know, you're just, it's late. You're like, we just need a place to sleep. You find a place. You just like pull over, whatever. You check in. You're like, let's just get a shot. You walk and you see that. You're like, fuck, we can't stay here. But before
you're like, I didn't
go,
even pack my hazmat suit.
Yeah, before
you know?
go, you just lie down. I mean, you probably take the top thing off because the top comforter is always fucking disgusting because they don't wash it. You put the quarter in, and then
I don't think the
after that
sheets are going to be
happens-
much better in this place,
No, no.
or the mattress.
But you do the magic fingers, and then you go back to the desk and you're like, I'm sorry, we can't stay here. And then maybe they give you the money back, maybe they don't. But like, you got to do the magic fingers first.
I think so too. I want one of this is like, I don't want this, but I also would love this in like my guest room.
Oh, yeah. Dude,
Right?
if in the
Like, wouldn't that
room
be the
I sleep
sickest thing?
in,
That's what I mean.
If there was a magic fingers bed in there, I would go to the bank and get
a roll of quarters, right?
quarters before I visit you every single time.
Because you're like, this mattress is used like 20 nights a year. It's like you and my in-laws, maybe Matt. And you're like, okay, if you're like, I trust the mattress, like, this thing fucking works, like, yeah, send it. This is like the coolest shit ever. I'm definitely gonna do this.
It would be really funny, like, for you or Rachel, like, to be like just like in your bed or downstairs or whatever, and just like hear the
Yeah, I think so
just
too.
like
I was thinking that.
just like
What if
either
it's just like a hair
laughing
too
or just
close,
annoyed,
a hair
right?
too close to the radiator, and it like tick 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 tick, like it does that too.
Yeah, just like he's magic fingers again. God, but like at least you're like, well, I guess we get to keep all those quarters. So like,
the fee. I make like $6 every time somebody comes to visit.
yep, worth it.
I think so too. You know, I'm gonna pitch this to you. Do you know who my favorite actor that I saw in a tiny brief moment in this film is? And I'll tell you who he is, and you still won't know who it is.
No, who? I mean, well, actors that I recognize in very small parts are. We talked about Kevin Bacon. We got Michael
Yes.
McKean as the cop. We got Ben Stein early on.
Yes.
And then there's one of the Lawrence brothers is in this movie somewhere. I think as a little kid.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I was watching this, and as I finished, I changed the channel. I'm not gonna say. Okay. But when they're on the plane, like the first, like the plane and John Candy's there, and the old guy falls asleep on Steve Martin's shoulder.
Yep.
Okay, do you know who the old guy is?
No, I do not.
There was an episode of Seinfeld where Kramer and Newman want to sell records, so Jerry has like what is it, like Big Brother, like he's like somehow hanging out with this old guy, and the old guy's like, you can have the records, and that's when they like, he has this like maybe Jamaican housekeeper or like live-in nurse or like visiting nurse, and so he gives Newman and Kramer all the records, and then the kids try to come for them. They put the old guy's dentures down the garbage disposal.
Yep.
This one. It's that old guy.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. And that's like a very famous like Seinfeld scene for memes, because they do at the end of that episode, you get the old George and the old Jerry arguing, and like, she had a goiter, and like I can't be with a woman like, and they're just like, the old guys are doing the same, like, we can't ever find a woman that's good enough that we like aren't going to run off, you know?
So that actor's name is Sid Fields. I Googled Seinfeld Records old guy dentures actor. So we got an Emmy nomination for that episode as an embittered man whom Jerry Seinfeld's character volunteers to look after but then loses in an episode involving flying dentures, a giant goiter, and a Senegalese housekeeper.
A Senegalese, yes.
So he died in 2011 at the age of 96. He lived for a very, very long time.
He's like 70 in all these movies.
I know. I'm trying to see. Oh! Whoa.
What?
In a very, very, very weird coincidence. Wait. Yeah, Bill Irwin plays Sid Fields, right? In that episode, you know who else is in that episode?
Who else?
Edie McClurg, the rental car agency woman.
No way.
That episode. Mm-hmm.
That strangely makes sense. What
Bill
is she
Irwin
in that
is credited
episode?
as man on plane. He's also man in airport in Home Alone.
Oh, he's in the airport in Home Alone. Okay. What does she play in that episode of what?
She plays Mrs. Oliver. She's uncredited, but she's Mrs. Oliver. So she's probably like, she's like 12th billed on IMDb. So she may be like in one scene. I don't know, because there's no Mr. Oliver. I don't know who Mrs. Oliver is, but like in that episode, Edie McClurg plays Mrs. Oliver. How many episodes of Seinfeld was she in? Because she's most known for this movie, Ferris Bueller, Wreck-It Ralph, and Carrie. But I want to see. Hold on. It'd be weird if that was the only Seinfeld she was ever in. But hold on. I'm sure she was in a handful.
I don't think
Nope.
so.
One episode.
That's what I was going to say. I didn't think so. Strange.
That's so weird. Bill Irwin as Sid Fields and Edie McClurg as Mrs. Oliver. Wild.
Yeah. Very, very weird. Well, I'm glad my brain unlocked something there. Wow. That's interesting. No, I didn't know that we were going to bring it full circle. I just wanted to talk about Seinfeld. Yeah.
Making connections. But I just want to say, like, the end of this movie is so sweet when Steve Martin's like it's almost like a Kaiser Soze, like, wait a minute, this doesn't add up. What's really going on here?
He does do a little Kaiser Soze.
I mean, it predates Kaiser Soze by, almost 10 years, so.
I know, but I'm saying him sitting there being like, I haven't been home in years. And he's like, of course I love my wife. And he's like, I'm going home to my family. Like all of these. Mm-hmm. He's like, what? But yes, it's very cute. I do like the ending. I mean, it makes sense. The thing, again, though, this is really weird to watch and know that, like, you're like, oh, I didn't get his cell phone number and just be like, text him like, hey, why don't you hop on the train? I'll wait for you at this stop. Come meet me, and you can come with me for Thanksgiving.
There's a very real, like, I will never see this man again. I have no way to get a hold of this man again.
Nope, he doesn't know my address. Like, I know that he sells shower curtain rings. I could maybe look him up, but that doesn't, like, I'd have to, like, mail a letter to have it waiting for him somewhere. Not that, like, I'm going to actually find this guy, right? Like,
he's like, I got 7 stores in the Pacific Northwest. It's like, I'm never going to be out there. And like, you're you're on the road all the time. Like, I'm never going to find you again.
Never going to see you again. Absolutely zero chance.
But it does feel like they are going to maybe have Thanksgiving with this guy every year for the rest of their lives or whatever. You know what I mean? When like they bond and.
This is like one of my favorite feel-good stories. Do you remember the grandma that texted the kid?
Yeah.
And they still have Thanksgivings together,
so sweet.
Like every year. It makes me so happy. This is my greatest like.
Yeah, she accidentally texted the wrong person and invited him over for Thanksgiving anyway.
And he's like, wait, I'm coming. And then it was just like some old white lady and some like young black kid, and they like have Thanksgiving together every year now and post updates and pictures, and everybody's like, we've been waiting for it every year, and like they like are very, very cute. It's like the cutest like relationship I've ever seen.
So in terms of vehicles, we got airplanes, trains, buses, taxi, big rigs.
Yeah. Tractor trailers. Oh, I caught a good one. I think it's like right after the train, maybe. Mm-hmm. There's a horse and buggy in the road.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was my fun catch. of the thing. I forgot about it when we were in New York. Did you catch any good New York ones?
I didn't see any. I mean,
Okay,
I was
just cars. I saw
cars. Yeah,
it's a lot of cars. I remembered cars, but like I was wondering if by any chance you saw like skateboard, bike.
No, like that's the weird thing. I'm like, there's got to be more. There's got to be more, and it's just like,
It's
well,
not.
no, we're doing this one because the name is the lab. Like we named the lab after this movie, but it's not like this is a movie with all the craziest forms of transportation. It's just like no, it just got like all the normal ones.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, it has all of them, but
Yeah.
it has all the normal ones.
Yeah. Do you have any other notes, or do you want to watch the trailer?
Oh, the last thing I really liked, because we had just talked many times over, and I'm reminiscing about the Shame episode. I really like that John Candy said, like, "What with me, what you see is what you get," and I was like, "Yeah, that's it. That's a line that I can relate to." He's just like, "Look, I'm annoying. I
Yep.
know it, but like, you love it or you hate it. Deal."
Yeah.
So that's my final note on the movie.
All right, let's watch this trailer by Rotten Tomatoes Classic Trailers, our favorites. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles 1987 official trailer 1 Steve Martin movie. One of the shortest we've ever watched. It's only 1:19 long. Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, that's really. I noticed that when I just pulled it up. It's like strangely short. I'm ready whenever you are, brother.
All right, 3, 2, 1, play.
During holiday travel,
His freak out in the rental car parking lot's pretty good.
some get,
I mean, I do think that there is like
and some get Del Griffin.
American Light and Fixture.
you don't need to overly sell this movie, right? Just like this is
Nope.
Neil
You know exactly what it is.
Steve Martin
I was on my way
and John
home to
Candy.
spend a nice holiday with my family. Instead, I'm in a motel bed with a stranger.
So instead of Thanksgiving with his family, he's spending
Oh.
3 days
Oh, them in the back of
with
that
the turkey.
truck was very cool. I like that, the visual of that.
Of them in the cheese truck. Yeah, I do too.
Whistling down the road. Flintstones, meet the Flintstones.
I love that one too. When he's like, "Do you have a song to sing on the bus?" and he sings like some weird song, and he's like, and everybody's like, just breaks into Flintstones instead.
Yeah. You see Don Ho while you were there? See the second show. That's the best one. Is that right? Yeah.
John Candy.
A little bit of Elvis there. Which I don't know. Was that in the movie or is that?
I was gonna say no. I don't think so. That and the flossing part, I don't think was in the movie.
Pillows. Those aren't pillows.
In a new film by John Hughes. Playing
Them. Oh, also them being like, this. Yeah. Them having to be manly and talk about sports after they like had
After
an
they're
almost
spooning.
gay moment. Yeah, they were like, yeah, I think the Bears have a good team. Yeah, and they're just like, oh, and they're like, oh, and like flexing and stuff. It was just like a really, for as much as like you've talked about this with Seinfeld about like gay panic and stuff like that. That was like the cutest way to handle this, right?
Yeah, Bears, football.
Yeah. We're just gonna be really manly for 3 minutes. Undoes it.
So the Letterboxd game for referencing Mad Max Fury Road, 1.6 million. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, started by John Hughes from 1987. Steve Martin, John Candy, Layla Robbins, and Michael McKean has been seen by how many people?
Oh, this is tough. It's old, but it's Steve Martin, and it's a holiday kind of movie. I think people really like it. They like John Hughes. They like John Candy. I'm gonna start. What? I don't know. I'm torn. 315,000.
You're too
my
high.
first guess.
You're too high.
Okay. 175.
You are too low. One more guess, somewhere in between.
Okay. So I wasn't far off with the
Nope.
315. Okay.
I mean,
232. 232.
208. So you weren't exactly close to 350, but there's a lot of people. A lot of people, though. 208,000 people have seen this movie.
You could have told me this was like 28,000. You know what I mean? Just like based on the year and like letterbox. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I think you could have told me 500,000
people, yeah.
Yeah, and I would have been like, yeah, sure.
So out of those 208,000 people, actually average rating of 3.8, most common a 4, then a 3.5, then a 3, then a 5. How many people have this in their top 4 favorite films of all time?
Oh, I bet it's a bunch. Give me. We're getting close to Thanksgiving, but I don't know if it's time yet. Give me like 175.
You are way too low.
Really good. Give me 456.
Still way too low. One more guess.
1.1 1,000 people.
1,000 people. Letterboxd
1,000
is not
people?
the number, just 1,000, just a 1K. 1,000
That's why I said
people have this in
1.1.
their top 4 favorite films of all time. We're going to go to Aiden at Aiden David on Letterboxd, who watched it earlier this year. I don't understand this. I don't know if English is not Aiden's first language. No idea. His review is more than a 3.5 star movie. Eyes rolling emoji. Maybe it's like he watched it with Melina. He tagged us, and maybe Melina's just like, it's a 3.5, and he's just like, no, it's a more
Okay,
than a 3.5.
so he's shitting on Melina. That's fine.
I guess so.
Okay.
He gave it 4.5 stars, though. So not 5. Give it 4.5. But it is Aiden's number 1 favorite film of all time.
Okay.
I like when I'm able to do this because, once again, it's a thing that we've done not that long ago. The other 3 movies in Aiden's top 4 are all parts of a trilogy, and they're all different installments in the trilogy. Like, one is the first movie, one is the
I like
second
this
movie,
too.
and
Okay.
one is the third movie.
Is one of them Lord of the Rings?
Yes. Which Lord of the Rings do you think Aiden loves the most?
I'm going to have faith in Aiden that he likes the Two Towers best, much like I do, and that he's a smart boy.
Two Towers is number 3 for Aiden.
Okay, perfect.
Correct.
But it is Two Towers.
Yes.
Excelente.
So you need a first movie and a third movie. I will say...
Star Wars, A New Hope.
No. You have Star Wars right, but it's not A New Hope.
The Return of the Jedi.
Nope. It's not
Empire
Return of the
Strikes
Jedi.
Back.
No, that's number 2. It's not that.
And it's not Return of the Jedi.
Nope.
Oh.
Gotta pick a different
Is it
trilogy.
Episode 3.
Revenge of the Sith is number 4, which, sure, man.
Wow, good trick. I like that one. That was good. Okay.
And then number 2 is the first. So I was going to say before we got to Star Wars is that both number 2 and number 4 are part of franchises that are bigger than 3 movies, but I think they're mostly. Star Wars has 3 trilogies. This one is basically a trilogy with a couple others, but this is the first in the franchise, first in a trilogy.
Okay.
One of my favorite movies.
Is it Best in Show?
No, that's not part of a franchise.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. Go ahead. What? Go, keep going. One of The Matrix, the first Matrix.
No, this is from the 80s.
Okay.
I don't think, have we done this for this podcast?
Welcome to my brain every single episode.
We have not covered it for this podcast. I mean, we could, in theory, like it's an action movie, but the star of this movie has not been in the Fast and Furious movies. Like, there is one actor.
Is it Mission Impossible?
No, it's from the 90s. This is from the 80s.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, yeah, you did say that.
One of my favorite movies. I think one of a lot of people's favorite movies. 1.2 million times logged. Average rating of a 4.2. The most common is a 4, then a 5.
Is it Terminator?
Nope.
Is it
I will say the
Men in Black? No, Men in Black was
That's
90s.
the 90s.
Yeah.
That's also not one of my favorite movies. Sure. The tagline is character name, the new hero from the creators of Jaws and Star Wars.
Oh. Okay.
So the minds who brought you Jaws and Star Wars bring you this guy.
Who is it? It's Spielberg. Who is it?
Mm-hmm.
Spielberg in a trilogy that's not Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. Well, Spielberg didn't do Star Wars.
Yeah, sorry. Never mind. Who is it?
He is, this person now is, you have a direct link to this actor.
Allison Janney?
No, not that direct of a link.
Harrison
Yes.
Ford.
Yes, exactly. You drove this man around Pittsburgh.
I did drive Harrison Ford around Pittsburgh. What was the other franchise that Harrison Ford is in? Blade Runner.
No.
What is it? I don't know.
Dude.
Oh, Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Duh. Okay, sorry. Got there. Never mind.
First one is...
And the Temple of Doom.
Mm-mm.
No? What's the first one? Raiders of the Lost Ark.
There you go. Number 2.
Okay.
Aiden's top 4. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Two Towers, and Revenge of the Sith. We're top 4.
Good choices.
Yeah.
No, those are they're good. I think that it's actually, that seems like it's all over the place, and it's really not.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Happy Thanksgiving, especially to Cassie Wilson,
Thanks.
Nick Burris, Alex Ellen, and Justin Kleiman, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, who was on the Shame episode coming out on Monday. Wes Hampton, Jerry Robinson, Dan the Duke, Hayden Renato, Di Donato, Michael McGann, Lane Middleton, Lindsay Lewandowski, Nate Milton of the Kings of Sport, Jason Rainey, Tom Price, Mike Gallier, Josh Buckley of Whole Lotta Wolves, Michael Moser, Christian Larson, Tara Newone, Aaron Willows, Natalie Absolute, Randy Carter, and Jessica Collins, a.k.a. Montez. Thank you all for supporting the $5 a month level or above. Once again, happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
I love Thanksgiving. I hope you guys all have a delightful Thanksgiving. It's my favorite holiday every year. Last thought is that Black Friday is coming out, and Black Friday sales are coming out. So if you see any Fast and the Furious toys on sale, now might be the time to buy them.
Oh, well,
Just
Fast 10 is $10 on 4K.
No, I was saying Fast and the Furious toy deals.
I know. I'm just saying, if you want the movie and you don't have the movie is really cheap.
Okay, that's cool too.
But if you want toys to either play with or donate, now is the time.
Give to your own kids. Either one. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. The next episode on the main feed is the Life in the Fast Lane, which we have not done in forever. Too Fast, Too Furious, minute 95. And the next episode for the patrons is Shame, which will be out on Monday. But for all things Too Fast, Too Forever, go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFast2Forever, or at TooFast2Forever on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, wherever. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Get those emails in for next episode. Email family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page at toofast2forever.com and our store at cageclub.me/shop. And come back next week for The Minute. Life of the Fast Lane, number 20. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too.
And we will tell you all about it
when we see you again.